was saying, well, I want to share a little bit because nagging and complaining and all that kind of stuff. Just talk a little bit, Kathy. Talk a little bit about complaining.
Yes, and nagging and bossing.
And bossing.
Yeah.
For me?
Did I have a problem with that? You gonna take the safe way out?
Take the safe way out.
Yes, and I did want to talk to the ladies today about doing that, about complaining and nagging. And if we aren't careful, what happens is we see our mate's faults or his deficiencies, and if we're not careful, we will point those out to him. Sometimes I've heard some women say that if they didn't fuss about it, they wouldn't be able to get their husband to do anything. If they didn't, you know, if they didn't complain about it, if they didn't just stay on him about it, they wouldn't be able to get him to do anything. But what happens when you're constantly nagging and constantly, you may think that it's not having a negative effect, but it does have a negative effect.
Yes.
And so just think, would you always want to have someone complaining and nagging at you? You know what I'm saying? Always pointing out what you do wrong, always, you know what I'm saying? So what we don't realize is that the enemy, who, and Eddie used the scripture in our last program, that John 10:10, the thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. We are allowing tools in the enemy's hands so that when your mate is alone, even if it's the man who's complaining, and even if it's the man who's bossing and trying to be controlling, when the person who you're doing this toward, when we as women, when our husbands are alone, the enemy is speaking to their minds. Believe me, he comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and we give the enemy tools. And so they'll play that over in their mind, and eventually any of us get tired. We get tired of the discomfort. You get tired of no peace. You get tired of that. And then when there is no peace in the home, the enemy begins to magnify it and make it worse. And I remember one time, Eddie and I, when we were really going through this thing, you know, I could complain with the best of them, and I could nag with the best of them. And of course, we didn't call it nagging, we called it straightening him out, letting him know what he needed to know, because he just didn't get it, and if I didn't tell him, how was he going to get it? You know, that just seems like common sense, right? Yeah, yeah. And so then I could be at home, I could be at work, and the enemy is telling me all the things, just reminders, playing things over in my mind, and giving me really good zingers to say. You know, a zinger that's really going to, I know I'm going to win, you know, he's going to have to really, because when I tell him this, you know, and the same thing for him, telling him what to say, so that when we get home, we're saying things to each other. It's
just a word battle.
Just a word battle.
Like a Gatling gun, you know, just taking shots, just going, just and trading back and forth, who can hit each other the hardest. It's crazy. Right,
absolutely. And so I remember talking to a couple, was it 2 girls or 3? And all of them were saying pretty much the same thing. They were talking about how they were doing things at home, and when their mates came, when their husband came home, and he would ask them, you know, why isn't dinner fixed, or, you know, or give a complaint about something, and then they would just go off, you know, well, you should have done this, because they didn't feel appreciated, or they didn't, and that just was the wrong way to handle it. So now they have to get back with them, at them, saying all the things they did wrong.
Right.
You know, so it just gets to be a real fight and a real battle, and there is no need for it. It does not accomplish anything. And believe me, if you feel, see, what we do is we discount God's ability in our lives. We discount his ability in our marriages if we think that we have to handle it that way to get our husbands to do something, or if we have to show him, or if we have to get a zinger, if I have to, then what is God's purpose? You know, how can he fit into that? He's not going to fit into the arguing and the fussing and the nagging and the bossing and the controlling. He's not going to fit into that. But, and then it's our way of letting him know. We aren't saying that, you know, to the Lord, but we're preventing him from getting into the situation to fix it. I was discounting what God could do for me by me being all in the way, trying to do it and trying to fix it myself. So that's one thing that I really, really would like to just to highlight for the ladies today. that there is a better way.
That's right.
There's a better way. That is a way, but there is a better way.
Yeah.
And the nagging isn't necessary. The constantly complaining isn't necessary. Because believe me, the enemy is playing that over and over. And when the discomfort gets so strong and so bad, whichever way it is, then your interests begin to look for peace somewhere. And then the enemy will try to show you places outside of your marriage to try to look for that peace. So don't be a tool in the enemy's hands to give him a platform and a place in your house to push you further apart, to allow him to come in and work and wreak havoc and cause division that can cause completely destroying your relationship.
Like what you saw? Make sure to comment and like below. Hit that subscribe button for more content uploaded weekly.
God bless you, and yes.